Okay, here we have a collection of Premier 252 pedals. That will be a bit on the old jerky side, but well, we can do what we can do. There we go, there's a collection of fine 252 pedals in various states of damage. Okay. To the uninitiated, they all look the same, apart from the foot plates are different. But on closer inspection, you'll see that they aren't exactly the same. Here is a very early version. You can tell that because it's got a rivet there, and there's the head. After that, they went over to this arrangement with these push-on domed rivet heads. Whoops. Some come with these, which are just a screwy thing. And if I can find one. Earlier versions came with these, which have a slot in the top. And if I can find my box of bits, yeah, if you're lucky, they'll still have Larry the Lock Nut. Anyway, back to the plot. So, here's one that's been stripped, painted, new strap, nicely cleaned. What we had to do with this one, if you notice here, we had to drill it out M5 because, in my box of bits again, the rivet, excuse the plaster, the rivet had worn so bad that the hole had gone oversized. So that's one that's been stripped, thoroughly cleaned, all the crappy grease took out, and I think not bad for a first attempt. I'll just put that one to one side. Listen to a bit of Planet Rock while that's going on. Here's one that's had a bit of a rub down and paint. Quite nice. Sadly, these little dents and marks are deep in the casting, and there's not much I can do about them, but not bad. And there's the footplate stay. Yes, darling, I'm recording, but a cup of tea would be nice. Thank you. You can put an appearance in if you want. This screw here, which adjusts that. Notice how it's nicely polished. That is riveted over, so if you can't get that out, it's not meant to come out. No, we'll put that to one side. Okay, that's a very late one. It's got the chrome head casting on. That's called the head casting, by the way, for those that are interested. And we have some springy things on here. Holes in the footplate and the new type of metal stay. So that's, I think, is one of the last ones, and you get a dimple in there as well. Fundamentally they're pretty much the same. little thing that was added at a later date is this little, you can see it, little collar there. I'm trying to get a better view of it. It's a bit hard working backwards in the camera. You see that little collar there? So that's a screwable stop. It's like a memory thing, but it also stops you screwing that thread right down, shoving that arm up there to tension the spring too high. If you notice, on this is an early model, it doesn't have one. So that was fitted at a later date. So we'll put the later one to one side. This one's a bit of a mess, as you can see. I think it's had a hard life. Everything about it is loose. It's just a lot of play on that pedal there. He's not a happy chappy, but we can work on that. As you can tell, video recording is not my forte. Okay, this one's quite a nice one. It's even got complete with the badge, which is okay. And again, it's a fairly new one. If you're really lucky, in here, sometimes there's a date stamp. It's hard to see, but in the old days when I was there, quality control, you check the pedal over and put a week and a year date stamp in there. But I haven't found one yet that's got it. This one we're going to take to bits. It's quite an early one because it's got the metal stay, not the wire type. And as this is the next oldest one I've got, we'll take this to bits. So pay attention. Simply unscrews. Unscrews. I better tilt that down a little bit so we can see what's going on here. Okay.
Let's cut to the chase. Here at Curry's DC World, we want to help you find the best price, whatever you're looking for. Now, either scuffs, oven or R-ring.
Unscrews. Comes off. Should have a washer and a spring washer, believe it or not. And in there, got a little spring. We can pick that out. It should just come out like so. There we go. They just screw out, as you know.
4 years, 0% APR finance, 4 years servicing, warranty and roadside assistance when you order a Renault van before the 30th of June. Business users only. Renault finance hire purchase. Eligible vehicles ordered by 30th of June and registered by 30th of September 2016. Dealers subject to status conditions apply. See
Renault.co.uk/van offers. So we've got a little screw. It's the stop for the tension arm to stop it falling out. Not very well prepared this morning. I had a gig last night, so I'm knackered. Screwdriver, ordinary. Unscrew. And you should have flick the arm back, and out comes a very horrid and greasy spring. Awful. What we need is
79% of the Open University students we asked said the OU will help them fulfill their career.
some handy blue roll, and we'll chuck that on there. Okay, so then what we end up with is, oh, I'm trying to work in backwards in the camera, it's shit. Wiggle the thingy, that goes up and down, and the tension arm there. Okay, Next job, we have to look down the end. Try and get that right, and right down in there is the head screw. So, we get out our trusty socket set and extension,
pick up your guide in the Times this Saturday.
doofer, and if I remember right, I think it's a, I'm not telling you what it is yet because I haven't figured it out because I can't remember. M6 standard hex driver up in there. Now this is tight, chaps, tight, very tight, and it's been Loctited in and it's probably been in there 25 years. Yeah. Apparently I've got visitors coming around. Typical. Okay. We end up with that. Why do bolts always fall on the floor? A bolt and a headless casting. Okay, for our next trick we'll remove the plate and arm from the thingy. For this you need a tiny screwdriver, and we've got to get in here. In there are some little clips. Now they're a C-clip. Now they're tricky buggers. There's one. And there's the other end there. Now then, how you get them out? I always try and pick them and rotate them so I can see the end of the C. Bear with me because this one takes some time. Especially if they've been in a while. I'll put it on pause for a minute. And we're back. Okay, they're the two little C-clips that you got to get out. Tiny. Tiny, tiny. There's a pencil, and you can see that they're quite tiny. Okay, so then we have to figure out which way this shaft was bashed in. And if you look really carefully, it's hard to tell, but my money is yes. If you look carefully, you probably can't see it on here, but in the hole you'll see there's some spline marks. You probably can't see, but hey, because one end of that shaft has got splines on it and the other end is plain. So we find out which end the splined end is by looking at the marks, witness marks on the hole, and then the other end is the end we're going to hit it. And we're going to hit it with a punch and hammer. Okay, see this? Tricky. Give me a moment. Okay, I had to get a slightly bigger punch, but Once you've got it moving, as you can see, that old shaft that's been in there a long time. A bit of corrosion action and all sorts going on in there, but you work out which end that is and then hit it that end and knock it out. And if you're really lucky, you end up with 3 bits like that. That spring goes under the plate there. If you want to just paint that, me, I always drill that or grind the end off, knock it out, then I can paint that and refurb the stay, polish the pedal and deal with it as 2 parts. Those 2 rivets hold that on if it's loose. With it off you can re-rivet the heads to tighten that up. This is a good one, there's very little play here in this pin, so we don't need to mess about with that. Funny thing is I might have riveted that all them years ago, but I hope. Okay, so that's off. So all we have left in here is the tension arm. Okay, it's held in with a roll pin there, and it's pushed in from this side. So we're going to knock it out from this side. With a punch. I always do it on a bit of cloth. Doesn't take much moving, as you can see. Arm falls out, and then we can roll pin and an empty doofer. If you're really doing a proper spray job, these little rubber feet with a bit of persuasion, just shove out. And there you have it. Here. I'll take this bit to bits. Sadly, you have to take the badge off. Only hold on with black glug. Got that in my collection. And in here, there we go, a crosshead screw. This might be tight, but bit of cloth, grip it in the vice, undo it,
Sometimes running a small business can be unpredictable. That's why for startups, HSBC's business current account is free for the first 18 months and just £5.50 a month for the year after. Search HSBC
okay.
Bank.
The shaft pulls out. Fibre washer. There's a fibre washer there. I don't know if you can see it. But in there, right inside up on the bearing face, there should be another fibre washer.
I think maybe the original lyrics are better.
Shaft, check it for any wear. I haven't found any on any of them yet. Bearings, 2 needler rollers. I just spray them out with a good cleaner and re-grease them. And that, as they say, When you assemble it, all you got to remember is there's a flat on the end of that shaft there, and in there there's a flat that obviously corresponds with that in there. Phillips screw, blah blah blah. And that, my old china, is how you take a Premier 252 to bits.